It is September 9th, 2013. My name is David Quick. I am interviewing Yael Nash-Hubbard for the DC Gardeners Oral History Project, which is a project sponsored by the Neighborhood Farm Initiative and the DC Humanities Council. Yael, thank you for sitting and talking with me today.
Thank you for having me today.
Certainly. Can I start by asking you to say your name and your address?
My name is Yael Nash-Hubbard. I live at 831 Delafield Place, Northwest, Washington, D.C., zip code 211.
Thank you. What neighborhood is that in?
That's Ward 4. That's Georgia Avenue, Petworth area.
Okay, cool. Let's start by having you talk a little bit about your early life, where you grew up, your family, neighborhood, siblings, things like that.
Okay. Let's see. It was very kind of vague. I can barely remember, but I know most of the bright things in my life. When I first was into, what school? I was at Roosevelt High School, and number one, I was really naturally into the hospitality field. I was very more professional and at an earlier stage than what people would expect. Mm-hmm. So people were kind of like, oh, they're like, wow, you're going to be having a lot of things going forth to your destination. A lot of people really encouraged me and really gave me motivation and spirituality to go forth and be more about who I am. Okay. So early on in my teenage years, my mother, she's a registered nurse. Mm-hmm. She, as well as my aunt, is a registered nurse at DC General. And then throughout their medical field, they met back a couple of years, I'd say to the year 2000. And my aunt, she has a nonprofit organization with the American Heart Association called Because We Care Health Training Center. Mm-hmm. So she also, amongst many medical and classes, she does CPR training, first aid, and AED. So after my mother, she was doing her instructor's class, then I came along and she asked me, do I want to become an instructor? Okay. So at that point, that kind of opened me doors to teach and got me open to be in front of a large group. After that, about 4 years later, that's when we got into the community and did the gardening. My aunt has already established working with Fort Dupont Park with Ranger Kevin Berry. Okay. She stated that she was a nurse and she liked to be the first nurse to establish a nurses unit for all the gardeners. Huh. Since it was like they heard people fainted and collapsed and got dehydrated or someone got a bite, and some people may not know how to get help because you're in a wooded area. Yeah. So she'd been doing that for a long time. Okay. So when I came along, number one, I didn't like to get my hands dirty first. And the main thing was I didn't like bugs. Yeah. But when the way she nurtured the dirt and the plant, it was like holding a newborn child. And it was like very wonderful and rewarding to do. So when I got into it, the bug situation just flew off my mind and I just really enjoyed it. And that's how I got into being a gardener at Fort Dupont Park. Okay. I was, so far to my knowledge and to the ranger, I was the youngest ranger. But of course, they have a lot of new gardeners now, so I applaud them for being a gardener at Fort Dupont Park. And after that, I was very excited and amazed, even when Michelle Obama was engaged with the campaign about Let's Move and eating organic and holistic food. That really got me more drawn to the younger generation to also be gardeners and do it at their own home. If they don't have a house, a big yard, they can at least have a little balcony gardening pot and just do herbs and simple little things just to have in your balcony or something. Mm-hmm. So I would say in the year 2008, my aunt, she was in an apartment at the Cloisters in Washington, D.C. on Michigan Avenue, and she had a balcony. So we did like peppers, tomatoes, and things in that type, like making a salad. Mm-hmm. So we found that our plants really didn't grow as much. So we found that Kevin Berry, he said, well, you must not have bees to pollinate your garden. I'm like, oh, is that the case? You have to, it's like the bees are like a fertilizer for your plants to grow. Pollinators. Yeah, so I was disappointed because nothing didn't grow. We were attracting bugs and fruit and vegetables. Uh-huh. So after knowing that, that's when I forgot who is the new ranger now overseeing the land that got the beehive in our garden now. So our garden can pollinate.
At Fort Dupont?
At Fort Dupont. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a lot of older gardeners, they've been there for like 50 plus years. Yeah. I was like, they seem like they live in the area, so it's quite amazing. They say wild turkeys and deers and everything. And I haven't seen the wild turkey yet, but the deer, I saw the backside I'm like, oh my God, that's like 4 times the size of a horse.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see the front. So then afterwards, the ranger said, well, we're going to provide the gardeners mulch to separate the aisle so you don't have no weeds.
Yeah.
So I was doing it. My aunt, she puts on the ground. So then one of the older, we call them the wise range gardeners.
Yeah.
He said, you gotta be careful out there because there's some cotton snakes. I'm like, cotton snakes? That was the last time I got mulch.
Was it manure? Was it the horse manure mulch, or?
I think it was the horse mulch, and then they encourage the gardeners, if you have anything that is natural to make compost, they will use it to make compost for the gardeners.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. Amazing thing about gardens that weeds grow faster than fruits and vegetables, and that's the hardest thing about it. But it is so beautiful once the job is done. I never worked too hard, like being out of the climate, like heat.
Yeah.
And it was different, and just looking at the beauty when you finish it is very amazing. I haven't yet get a chance to taste my own grown strawberries because the deers keep getting us some. And I found out that the baby must have bit some jalapeno and decided to eat my strawberries too. So after that, that's when I got into the garden for about at least 5+ years.
Yeah.
And at that part, that's the continuation of being a gardener at Fort Dupont Park.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm going to ask you more questions about Fort Dupont, but before we talk about that, can you, what part of DC did you grow up in?
I grew up at Georgia Avenue, Petworth area, Ward 4.
Okay. And who'd you grow up with? What was?
It was basically my aunt. My parents that also live in DC Northwest. I was going back and forth with 2 of my aunts. One lived in Northeast and my other lived in Northwest. So basically I was living with my aunt in Michigan Avenue Northeast because my aunt, as the nurse gardener, she and I always go there like every evenings and throughout the day, all Saturdays.
Okay.
So that was our routine at Fort Dupont Park.
Okay. So even while you were growing up, was your aunt, did she already have the plot at Fort Dupont?
Yes, she did.
So it was something you were aware of.
Correct.
Early on. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, I know I did have, in my early years, I had a small, at that time we had a balcony. I did like tomatoes, green peppers, and scallions. So,
on the balcony? Yeah,
on the balcony. And it did a perfect job.
Yeah.
And the tomatoes, I had like the salad, small tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and they were so good. They were the sweetest tomatoes I ever had.
Yeah, no, I know. And that was at the Cloisters, or?
Yeah, that was at the Cloisters.
Okay. So what's your aunt's name? Who you were living with? Who's the guy?
Andra Matthews.
Audra? Or
Andra
Matthews. Where did she learn how to grow food? Like what? Can you talk a little bit about her life? I know
when she we have these little one-on-one talks. She got her talent from her parents.
Okay.
Her father was really a key in growing flowers. He had a picture of growing a flower, and her mother part was like the nurturing, giving the attention, and just caring for that plant to grow and be abundant so that you can have more seeds and share with everyone. So I think her inspiration and motivation was through her parents.
Okay. Where did she grow up?
She grew up in Washington, D.C., Northeast.
Okay. And so she was, when she was a young person, her parents were growing food?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in the country, and she talked about all the wonderful stories that she had to go, it was pitch dark. Basically, I mean, you just have to provide what you can, what you have out there in the natural, as your natural resource. So that's where she got all her wonderful background skills from.
So she was in the country or in the city?
She was in the country as well as in the city later on.
Okay.
And still continued gardening.
Okay. Nice. And so you grew up, she raised you, sounds like, so that you lived with her there, and so was that something when you were young that you were really into? I mean, like, not many teenagers growing up in the city
talk about gardening,
growing up, growing tomatoes and putting their hands in the dirt. And
I always felt I felt ordinary, but as well as unique. I didn't have that mindset saying, oh my God, gardening, that doesn't sound fun. I like to go to the mall and get new shoes and stuff and do my nails. But I really wanted to learn how you can grow your own fruits and vegetables. I always wanted to go beyond the fact of what we have in front of us, where you don't want to grow in the state. Like if someone asks you, where do we get our food? You don't want to say, oh, from the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be more detailed and be knowledgeable of how it's the process.
Mm-hmm.
And the wonderful fact about that is that when you grow your own food, you not have to worry about pesticides and chemicals and things that can harm our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
was that a value for your aunt?
Yes,
kind of
most definitely. Yes,
gardening.
She's a holistic person. She and I go to Whole Foods and Harris Teeter's and Eastern Market and get fresh produce when due to the season changing. So yeah, she was I call a holistic guru.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, and you went to Roosevelt High?
Yes.
Where is Roosevelt High?
That's on near Petworth area on Georgia Avenue on 13th Street Northwest.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so being a teenager here in Washington, D.C. who knew how to grow her own tomatoes and things like that, did you have peers who...
let's see.
Who knew about that kind of thing also?
How about that? Let's see. Only my siblings, they were more interested, of course, mainly eating good food as well as growing the food, but
Mm-hmm.
no one around me. I can't say I advertised it, but I did say, look what I did. And they're like, oh, wow,
Mm-hmm.
that is amazing. You did it all by yourself?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but no one didn't ask to participate, but it was
Yeah.
always good to share and to teach people what you learn.
Yeah. Would you bring lunch to school with foods that you had grown?
Oh,
or?
yes, I do. I never forget, I had a all-natural 17-inch zucchini. And I showed everyone, look, I said, look at my zucchini. And it brought me back in my early childhood days when I used to look at, I think, VeggieTales, I do believe.
Uh-huh.
And that just gave me a little brief back, a little funny moment.
Uh-huh.
But after I showed them, I cut it up. I did a cucumber salad.
Yeah.
And I think basically I did a vegetable salad without the romaine lettuce and spinach.
Yeah.
And they were amazed. They're like, this is the freshest thing I ever tasted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. There's no pesticide, no chemicals, no nothing. It's all free range and carrot and loved.
Nice.
And that's it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of high school is Roosevelt? Is it a regular high school, or does it have
It's a regular high school, also a program for the youth as well as people in the D.C. area residents for hospitality.
I see.
So yes.
Okay.
So I was mainly in the hospitality intro in the curriculum.
Okay. So when did you start thinking about hospitality as something you wanted to do for work?
Really, again, I was always open to new things. It didn't really came out that direction when I went to the summer youth program, and they were having a multi-program in Shad High School, and they were showing you different options and open doors of what field you want to go into.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was running to different doors. Okay, his security's in door A, and some CPRs in building C, just in that type of setup. So then I walked in, I almost saw maybe 4 people. I'm like, I'm just here to get trained. So my wonderful instructor, her name was Miss Dr. Ann Peterson. She was my first hospitality instructor.
Mm-hmm.
As I was recalled from her interim, she owns at least 4 hotels, and she has been more in experience of 25 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So she was my guide and encouraging me to come in the hospitality field. Later on, I had the pleasure to have another instructor, Mr. Elwood Reed. He also had some inside contacts in the hospital industry where I worked at the Courtyard Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
And that part, it was a whole open doors of the hospitality entry.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So was that what? And you wanted hotels,
Right.
I mean, hospitality. Does that also include restaurants, or?
Yeah, restaurants, catering, food and beverage.
Okay.
I would like to later on probably explore that. I just know of course I was trained in that type of field, but it's like a family, it's like cousins, like food and beverage and then restaurants. So it's all one big unit.
Okay. So you went hotels.
Correct.
And worked at a Courtyard?
I worked at the Courtyard as the front desk agent.
Cool. Near the convention center?
Near the convention center.
Was that what you did after high school? Your job?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. After I graduated and got my degree, that's when, as a surprise graduation ceremony, they said, and Yael passed a job at the Courtyard. I was like, oh my gosh. One lady, she's like, see, I knew it. I know you got the job. I'm like, well, thank you. It was a very surprise gift. After graduating, you got the job the next couple of weeks later.
Uh-huh.
So it was really a wonderful experience for me.
Okay. And how long were you there?
I was there about within a year. Then after that, I became a full-fledged CPR instructor teaching for Because We Care.
Okay, I see. So you changed.
Yeah, I changed career field for a
quickly.
moment to
Okay.
get a field of it. I'm still searching for one right now. my main thing was to live in the southeast area since I would live in the northwest quadrant, and to be at the Navy Yard courtyard. So that would be my next top dream. So moving to there in that area.
To be near Navy Yard?
Yeah, the Navy Yard.
Southwest? So are you trying to live in every quadrant?
I think so. Let's see, born northeast, live in northwest, and working here in southeast, and want to live in southwest.
All right.
Yeah, how about that?
That's the smallest one. So.
Yeah.
So you went in the hospitality industry, having some kind of pretty direct knowledge of how you grow food.
Right.
Were you able to utilize that knowledge?
Let's see. I know definitely I utilize the knowledge. I would say in the catering field, where because with care, not only I'm a CP instructor, I like to cater and also make banquet setups.
Okay.
That's what one of my high grades was in my hospitality industry in my class, was make things real presentable and pretty. So my aunt, she would make me in charge of the holistic brunch. And I make things very pretty and make things kind of unique and different. She may go to Whole Foods and get one thing, and I would change a whole different aspect. Like, for example, my aunt, she bought like pound cake, yogurt, and some fruit. So I'm like, oh, okay, so people just want to eat, yogurt on one side, pound cake, and fruit in the middle? So then I got a tray. I sliced the pound cake in half, put the yogurt on top, like I was thinking like icing, and put yogurt top. People, I turned around and I was doing something else. They tried it. I guess they thought like, what kind of dessert? What is this? Come on. I was like, this must be French. I'm like, so I didn't want to say, I did say the word like, oh, it's fruit cake. So I said, don't say fruit because people think, fruit cake is the dry. So I'm like, oh, okay. So people said, I'm not sure what it is or how you did it, but it is good. So it was just amazing. Ever since then, I was very into the banquets and making things presentable and good for people.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And do you think that comes from having, as a young person, just that connection to food and growing food, or?
Let's see. Yes, and also I think by age of 8, I always was amazed at my mother cooking food. When I was younger, I was like, how can't she make food? And I look in the fridge, it's barely empty. And so I look in the fridge, it's like, it's nothing. I'm like, I'm hungry. So she opened the door, she pulled stuff out like I didn't see was in there. And she just whips up a meal within 30 minutes, and it's good. So then I came to her when I was age 8. I said, how do you season your food? She said, that is a wonderful question. So the best things in learning is through observation. And throughout those many years, I had my mother retire, and I was the whole full-fledged chef in the kitchen for the family. So
starting at that young age?
That young age, at 8. So yeah.
All right. So you learned. And do you think that, so you asked, you were curious.
Right.
Would she have prioritized you learning how to cook otherwise, or?
Let's see. I know she definitely would make sure I didn't hurt myself.
Yeah.
So she did it in different stages. Like, okay, she likes to season food with color. So if you like have, for example, have a baked sweet potato, you want to season with a little curry, a little basil, just something that gives more presence and more color perfection. I call it. So I did it every step by step. I observed her, she observes me, and I felt like a top chef.
What kind of stuff did you cook? What were your specialties?
Oh, well, my specialties will be vegetarian lasagna, making squash spaghetti with the squash. Let's see. I like to do fried broccoli and cauliflower, which was a delicacy. Doing the kale salad, which you slightly cook it and then you blanch it and you dice it up and just put your vinaigrette. Let's see. I always like to try something new and different. Like for a couple of days, I tried out the bitter melon, and I was told that if you slice it real thin and you bread it up like you're doing like onion rings, you fry and let it bake dry for a little bit. It's like potato chips.
What is a bitter melon?
A bitter melon is a nutritional melon that has a lot of vitamins and minerals, and it helps to reverse diabetes, or I should say helps to manage the system in the body for anyone that's diabetic.
What does it look like?
It's a green melon. It has little grooves outside. Okay. And it's long, like the length of zucchini, but more lighter.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
So lots of vegetables.
Correct. It's a vegetable.
Was your family meat free, or?
We were all born vegetarian. So yes, I never eaten meat.
Wow.
That's one of my things that my aunt would kind of praise about. She's like, wow, no wonder you like to be in the holistic and vegetarian world and cooking. I said, yeah. I would have probably considered going to a culinary school, but I wasn't sure at that time in my young state that they would have a separate culinary class for vegetarians.
Right.
So I just did it, basically taught myself at home.
Mm-hmm. So where did that value come from of not eating meat, or that practice? Like why was that part of your family's life?
Biblically, and just a free choice of how to eat better and eat healthier. Mm-hmm. So it was just a choice, and wanted to try something new and different.
Mm-hmm. Were the older generations, like your parents and your aunts, were they also vegetarians?
My parents were vegetarians, my aunts are vegetarians, and the future coming generation are vegetarians.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right. So you just described all those delicious vegetables and how you cooked them. So when was it that you started going with your aunt to the Fort Dupont garden?
I want to say it was like either 2004 or 2008.
Okay. So you were a teenager.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was a teenager. Again, I was the youngest one to my observation of the field, and other gardeners that were like 50 plus years of experience. So everyone's like looking like, is that your niece? Are you out there doing the weed? I'm like, yeah. So they always called us my aunt, she was a nurse, and they called me like the little nurse or the nurse aide. So I was just there, like if someone collapsed, you just elevate them and give them an ice pack of water. Mm-hmm. So we had like a quarter of an acre of land. Mm-hmm. At that time, she had like two plots. And she liked to have everything a little layout, like a row of corn, a row of green peppers. Everything was like a row. Mm-hmm. She always liked to have her sunflowers in the corner of her square so that the bees can go on the corners and not on us. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was like, wow, it was quite amazing. It felt like a village of gardeners and having their own little section and gardening food. Yeah. Very people come out and help you out, like one gentleman, his name, I'm not sure I'm going to say his name, but he always liked to till our ground for us. We had a tiller. Mm-hmm. Some ladies in the garden, they're like, you want some spearmint? I got so many spearmint, I just can't get rid of it. I don't want it to go to waste. So they gave us spearmint. It was like a family, a colony of gardeners that just want to help each other and grow good food.
And had your aunt, before you started going there with her, has she already been there for quite a while?
Yes, that's correct. I've said no more than, I guess, 5+ years, and then that's when I came around, I think, in 2004, 2008. Okay. So, yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so why at that point, when you were a teenager, did you all of a sudden start joining her in the work at the garden?
Yes, I did. I loved it so much when, I guess, due to the protocol, when I went to a certain age, I say about 14 or 15, I was able to register and have my own plots. I had a quarter of an acre too.
I see.
And then at that moment, we were blessed to have our acres to combine, so we can have like a whole group. Okay. So then I did like corn, bell peppers. She would do the squash because those are runners. Yeah. So we can all have a bigger garden plot.
Okay. Were there other family there with you? Or just
it was my family would come on the weekends because they're in school. We had a dog, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's the guard dog." I said, "Yeah, that's the guard dog." I mean, she said, especially when dusk comes and it's pitch dark. Yeah. And she was real good. Yeah. So it was good protection, just good experience for the whole entire family to learn.
But you and your aunt were the only two who actually, were the plot holders.
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned siblings earlier. How many siblings? Yeah.
Well, I think I've been living in D.C. so long. I mean, they go in one school and go to the other. I wish I could say. But it's many. In their early stages, they were glad that they got to know that how is a plant from a seed grow into a fruit and a vegetable. Yeah. And they're able to use it and make a meal. Yeah. So at that point, they were really more open to doing more. So on Saturdays, they come in the mornings and we get the star plants and we put them in the garden. And we show them how to separate from other vegetables and how to water it. It was just a beautiful, open experience for them too. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Who are the people that you remember from the garden? I mean, the kind of senior members, and I know you don't have to say names, but just talk about who stands out in your memory.
One gentleman, his name is AC. He always helps to till the ground. I'm not sure even how it got started, but I know that he used to help us out. He knows that we're the only two ladies in the garden in the dark. He always stays there before we all leave together because, again, it's a community gardening. So the gate, whoever's the last one, closes, and whoever comes in the morning opens it. So we, the gentleman of the garden always makes sure the ladies leave, so we'll be by themselves in the dark. So AC was really a prime person in the gardening field in my life that he always wanted to participate, help us out, and just show us the ropes and how to do things correct. Another lady, she is so phenomenal. Her name is Pearl, and she is like Big Mama in a sense. She's like, "What you doing? You're not doing it right. You gotta change it up, or else your line gonna be all messed up and everything." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, your lane is crooked. You gotta make it straight." And I'm just working because I'm tired, exhausted, and hungry. She's like, "You keep doing it. You're gonna mess up the whole entire garden." And so she was right.
Yeah.
So everyone knows Pearl. So if you say Pearl, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know Pearl."
Are they still gardening there?
Yes, they are. They're still gardening there. And then, for my young age, I never met people in the same location that named John. Like 3 people named John. Like, are y'all just saying that? Are y'all brothers? But really, they were 3 separate individuals that just called themselves John. So I always call one particular John. I always assume that to my imagination, like Yoda in Star Wars. He was always the wise one walking around the garden, and he's like, "Now you see right there, that's a weed. Now you gotta peel it up or that thing gonna grow." And I'm like, "How can you see it so far distance?" But he was just very wise and knowledgeable. He said, "Now you see the clouds? It's gonna rain." I'm like, "How can you know that?" I can tell. I've been here for 50 plus years. And for sure enough, it rained. Because they tell you, like, if you're getting ready to get the hose and water, they say, let nature take care of that. It's gonna rain. You do it tomorrow, it's not gonna rain. I'm like, wow. So it's quite amazing how they can get feel of the nature and the cycle of how things go along in life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So was it pretty, like, how many times a week would you go out there, you and your aunt?
Let's see. Before working here because of care, I would say every evening throughout the weekday and full times on Saturdays.
All right. So a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
But when you have difficult days or shifts change, I would say every other day in the evening, and definitely commit Saturdays all day.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of hours.
It is. Some people have the privilege to even live right next to the area. Like one lady said, "I just live up the street." I'm like, "So you can get here at 6 o'clock in the morning and water, and then in the evening." I'm like, "Wow, you got it good." And some people, like I say, retired or don't have nothing to do and just want to live life and have some hobbies, and that's what they do.
Yeah. So as a teenager, I mean, you know, a lot of teenagers don't want to spend their Saturdays in a garden or
how about that?
Yeah. I mean, was that something you took to pretty easily? I mean, something you felt.
It wasn't nothing like lacking or got disappointed. I guess I did so good in school. It was nothing much for me to do.
Okay.
So gardening was mainly my excited mode to get up in the morning and get ready, put on my spare clothes, and get out in the dirt. Especially seeing your work comes to life in full bloom and it's right in season, you pull it up. I never forget when I pulled up the first green bell pepper. Like, look how small that is. It's so cute. It felt like finding treasure or gems in your hand. So I was like, that is just so awesome. So it was very magical and very rewarding to learn that you can grow your own fruits and vegetables with time, a lot of time in weeding and love and nurturing. You get a whole reward of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. What do you remember growing in the early years?
I remember growing corn.
Sweet corn?
Yeah, sweet corn. Had 2 different types of tomatoes, cherry tomatoes and the big boys. Let's see, bell peppers, eggplant, jalapeno pepper, which that was my preference. My aunt doesn't like jalapenos. So she said, "Well, you have your jalapenos over there." I said, "Okay." So I had my jalapeno peppers. Let's see, I have our yellow squash and our green squash. We had strawberries, which throughout my successful years of trying to grow strawberries, the deer get it first before I do. And then from that point, we do the herbs. I do basil, parsley, sage, let's see, lemon basil, and things in that sort.
Yeah.
So, and then later on when we got let's see, it was in my early years that we didn't have a fence, but when I got to my late teens, we did fences because a lot of deers and wild animals come in and just taste and eat, have a feast.
Salad bar.
Exactly. 24/7. So then earlier though, that time we did gates. So it was kind of cool. AC, he helped us out. So he told us what to buy and what to sign. So after he said, how tall are you? I said 6'2". He said, you need at least 7 feet of the stalk so the deer won't jump over. I'm like, so you're saying, bam, we're going to jump over? Mm-hmm. So then we did that. We got the metal net. And I think at that time he was like hammered down. So I put some duct tape. And he was like, got the scissors and just cut it. I'm like, oh, you can just rip this off. Mm-hmm. He said, wow, look at you. So I just taped it, hammered it down. And within 5 minutes, you have a fence.
Yeah. And did you, just around your plots, you did the fence? Or around
I think we did the whole entire garden.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because at that time, no one wasn't on the backside of us. But our neighbor, her name was Pearl. So she was right next door. So she had a fence. So I think barely we just did like a third of the fence.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was on an evening during the week or on Saturdays? Were there usually just a lot of people out there working?
Oh yeah, a lot of people. I say no more than counting cars, like 8 cars.
Okay.
And one I was told he was like a retired police officer. He has a plot. Everyone else just has, I guess, one to live on and do something in life. And me and my aunt were like working here and there, but every other evening we out in the garden.
Okay.
Saturdays was mostly the prime days. We try to get there out there like 6:30 or at least at 10 o'clock. Check out the weeds and water in the cool of the evening because we were told you cannot water when it's bright hot sun. You will burn and kill them.
Yeah.
So and then those times, I say my late teens, my late teens, the rangers noticed that through research, the Miracle Grow, it delivers cancer and later on the ages of food. So then we're told that Miracle Grow, which we never really used, was abandoned from the field. Because if you try to do it your plot, even though you're just spraying your plot, when the rain comes, it will draw the chemicals to someone else's plot. Mm-hmm. So then you're like insisting opening doors for chemicals in your garden. Mm-hmm. So then I always be the lookout like the eagle. I'm like, look, that man using Miracle Grow. Mom, like, how can you tell? He just got a bottle, so I can tell. It says Miracle Grow with big, beautiful green and green yellow letters. So then she's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to report it. I don't want those chemicals in my garden. Mm-hmm. Especially when Michelle Obama promotes having organic gardens in your area. Even if you have a balcony, do something. Grow tomatoes, peppers, anything that will be fitting in your area. Mm-hmm. So that moment, I was very more in value of what I had. So I took it to more of a security investment. Mm-hmm. So then later on in those lives, people come in and just help themselves and took off watermelons. They're like, they weren't even ready or full grown. And then
was that a common problem?
Yeah,
like people taking produce?
In my early stages, but much later on it was. I guess people probably new residents just come in thinking, like you said, 24-hour bar and just help themselves. And sometimes if the ranger isn't able to grow anything, or not the rangers, the other fellow gardeners, they just come in and take your stuff. Uh-huh. So I was like, so I played detective. In my early childhood, I liked to look at Columbo. So I was like, okay, I can find out. Cause it was raining that night, and I saw a big footprint. And then someone used a machete to get to the back of the gate of our garden. Uh-huh. So I'm like, okay. So then a gentleman come in like, what's wrong? You're looking weird and something. So this was a person. So my aunt's like, well, someone came to our garden and took our watermelons and then they went to go to the getting gate, but went in the back and just cut the gate and just walked. He's like, oh, well, how you know it was a big person? I saw so the footprint was a little deep. Uh-huh. And he was like kind of heavy. So his footprint matched it put me in the dirt. Then, which was kind of not expected, I was trying to pull off this eggplant and the stem was very thick, right? So I asked our fellow gardener, I said, do you have some scissors? I don't have scissors, but I got a knife. And it was a machete, the same cutting groove as it cut the gate. Uh-huh. I'm like, Auntie, I know who did it. Uh-huh. So I don't think I recall nothing, but I did report to the rangers like that wasn't right. If you wanted some water, you could just ask.
Yeah.
And that's what basically all the other gardeners do. If you want something, just ask.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to make enough for, as they call it, the thieves, the four-legged animals, and the people that don't want to ask. So basically, you'll make sure you have enough, like 4 times. If you buy like a bag of seeds of corn, you want to at least buy maybe 2 or 3, because you're gonna have people that want to help themselves and don't leave none for you.
Yeah.
And all the work you do, you just empty with little to nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I didn't thought about that. So you basically doing extra work for the other people. But anyway, I still like giving. I don't mind giving fruits and vegetables. For those that needs it, or for those that just want the pleasure to eat hand-grown fruits and vegetables, I have the enjoyment of doing that.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah.
But otherwise, it sounds like it was a pretty friendly community.
Yes, I was quite amazed. I mean, people come in and help you. If you don't have a tool, they give you the tool and you give it right back. Especially borrowing the hose, and you're going to say, well, I'm going to use it for 10 more minutes. Just give me a moment. And they bring it to you. Because sometimes someone can just bowl it up and it's very difficult to pull it out. But it was a wonderful, friendly community.
Were there communal tools there, or did everybody have their own?
Everyone had their own tools. One lady, she had her own hose, and she connected to the community hose and waters her garden. Then she connects it out and put it in her trunk. And that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you talk about learning from some of the more experienced gardeners.
Right.
As your time from being a teenager to later, because you don't currently have a plot there, right? Or,
That's correct.
Okay. Did you feel like that wisdom, that learning paid off? I mean, were you a better gardener by
Yes, most definitely.
year 5 or 6?
Exactly, because I'm not sure from far distance looking at how things are grown. I just thought you just put the seed in the dirt, water, and it should just grow beautifully. But it's not like that, because I didn't expect weeds and other things like bugs. And well, a neat little trick they told me is that if you spray some baking powder, not too much, or baking soda, that since the bugs have got a percentage of water, they eat the baking soda, they just blow up. So I'm like, I didn't thought about that. That's neat. And then another way you get rid of deers is using an old stocking cap, or as people say, stocking cap, and put Irish bar soap, hang it on your gate, and the scent, whatever chemical that smell is, the deers don't like Irish spring soap. So I'm like, oh, so that really worked.
Did it work?
It did. And instead of using Youre and things that got animal urine and all that stuff, to me it just smells. But using Irish soap, it really did the trick. So yeah.
I've never heard that one before.
Really? I was like, that must be an old wise remedy or something, but it really did the trick.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Were a lot of the older gardeners, I mean, who some of you talk about, you say some of them were there for decades, right? What was a lot of their background? Did a lot of them grow up in the country and then move to the city, or?
It seemed like when we have conversations, some of them had, most of them live in the country. Some want to adapt to a natural base, especially when I recall one lady, she was a mother. She always bring her, I think, her 4-year-old son, which to me it felt very wonderful. It looked like she came from the country. She was a little Jamaican. Not want to disrespect her background, but I know that she either had a natural state of living, so she wanted her young child to learn the same way as she was doing it, and also introduce him to natural foods instead of processed food. So I feel everyone mostly came from the country. Some either once had a farm or some kind of connection that they want to go back and do a garden at Fort Dupont Park.
I see. Did any of them go back to the country?
Good question. I have no idea. I want to say at least 2.
Yeah.
One came from like Georgia, South Carolina, and I think those were the main areas in that when I was conversating with the gardeners. So yeah.
Were there kind of planned social gatherings at Fort Dupont, like potlucks or picnics or things like that?
Most definitely. They had, the Rangers always have fun activities. As I was told, which I don't recall winning right now so far, but I'm planning on making that commitment my goal, that all the farmers, they like bring their first or best produce of their garden. Like some may bring the biggest watermelon or the sweetest watermelon. Some may make the best pumpkin pie. And things in that sort. They have a contest every year. They have music contests or bands and DJs and picnics. And it was like a wonderful community, just engaging. They have classes where you want to do one-on-one gardeners, and they have programs where volunteers can also experience and help the gardeners out and at the same time get experience. And then later on, they want to apply, they can apply and get a plot.
But the rangers, the park rangers, were kind of organizing those
Yes,
things?
very well. Yeah, they're very organized. They even had set guidelines so that if you have a problem, you just take care of it. I mean, you get like 2 notices, and then the third, if you disobey that, you terminate from the plot for at least maybe a year or so. But it was well organized, and the formality, everyone respected each other's lot.
Yeah. And, okay. So, and were they growing food also, the rangers? Did they have their own plots?
At that, in my early time, I'm not sure, but I know in my late teens and this present time, they do now. I do recall they show you how to make like boxes so you can make it look neater. I'm like, that is so cool. And then
like raised beds?
Yeah, the raised beds. And let's see, I know they were doing, I know one thing was not permitted was growing sweet potatoes.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason. I'm not sure it brings a certain attraction of an animal or a bug, but I know it was one particular thing that you cannot do. And I think it was sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't sweet potato, no, some type of potato, a white potato,
and
things in that sort. So yeah, I'm not sure why. So, but anyway, everything else you can grow.
Yeah. And what was the method of communication from the rangers? Were they just there?
Let's see, I guess each ranger like shifts, comes into their truck and check the scene's okay, and sometimes they do in the morning, evening, and then late in the evening before get the gates closed. They come out and give you suggestions on how to take care of the land or the plot. And we always have our monthly meetings. So if you have an idea or a concern, you express that and they address it for you. So yeah, they were very well staffed personnel. They were very proficient in what they were doing. Yeah. And it made the environment more friendly.
Nice. I need to visit there. I've never been there.
Really?
Yeah.
It is so serene. And one of my amazing experiences, which I never forget, amazingly, at all I won't forget, is that a gentleman, he had a plot, and I saw him in the woods and just picking. I'm like, excuse me, so what are you picking? So he was picking like wild strawberries and garlic out from this wild area. I mean, away from, I say not a few steps away from the garden. And I said, you found a wild strawberry? He said, yeah, if you recognize this fuzzy part, you pull it up, and it's garlic on the bottom, and the top is strawberry. I'm like, that is so amazing. So he said...
It was the same plant?
Yeah, it was the same plant. I was like, that is cool. And then, where we like to buy the things from Home Depot or Target, the ones with the furry tops on. Yeah. Like, he takes the soft part and make pillows. And the stem he rolls it in with other stems and make a mat.
Wow.
Yeah. He said, let me tell you, you cannot say you're not rich or you cannot survive out here, because you can mainly survive in this type of garden. Yeah. You got food. I can know where to tell you water. I'm like, really? And basically, you can't say you're going to starve to death, because there's always going to be wild food out here. And making pillows and mats.
And was he just using them, or was he also selling?
I can't say he was selling, but it seemed like he does it for a hobby or a natural living, and he just enjoys doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, he even said he picked up a jalapeno pepper and just ate it like that, like an apple. He said, I may not have the funds to go to have a medical provider or go to a hospital, but I know how to eat the certain fruits and vegetables, so I will not get sick. I'm like, that is amazing. And thinking about that back in the day for hospitals and things like that was great. How did we survive? And it came back to eating fruits, whole fruits and vegetables. So
where did he learn that knowledge?
I recall briefly, I only saw him like maybe twice.
Did he have a plot? Was he a plot?
Yeah, he has a plot owner, and he also lived in the country, in the South. So I was like, wow, you can learn to do all the type of neat stuff, and yeah, it was amazing.
Did you take up any more of those kind of, because that's a different thing, like that's wild, eating wild foods.
Yeah.
Like, did you start doing any of that?
Let's see, no, because I didn't want to risk my own health. Yeah. But I did try the strawberry. He picked it up for me, and he said, try it. And I'm like, okay. I tried it, and it was so sweet, the wild strawberry. And then when you turn the tip, you can smell that earthiness of the garlic. I'm like, that is amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
That is something else.
So it was cool.
Yeah. Do you have any other memories of like specific just techniques and tips that you learned from other people?
Let's see.
Irish Spring, wild strawberry.
Right, how about that? The baking soda so the bugs won't come to eat your plant. Let's see. Gosh. I know the mulch helps to where you walk the aisle between the row of plants or fruits or vegetables. You put mulch so that it can reduce the fact of taking care of the weeds, so the weeds won't be in your aisle.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that can help when you try to do a whole garden. So you don't only weed around the plant.
Yeah.
You want to be mindful and learn the leaf of the plant versus the leaf of the weed, or else you'll be pulling your plant and then leaving the weeds right there. Those are all my main tips I recall that I learned from the garden, which was very neat.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Where would you get seeds?
We'll go way out in some parts of Maryland, which I don't even recall. I just know it was a long trip.
Yeah.
She would go like at least 3 different places. Sometimes she'd go to Whole Foods and get like the corn, but mainly she buy things in bulk. So I think we went way out somewhere like Fort Washington and things in that nature. So I don't recall anything that was based in D.C., but I know in D.C. we normally go to Whole Foods and get like the starter plants, the herbs and seeds, and grow it in my little herb box. And from that point on, we just harvest the herbs and everything else. So yeah.
How much during those years how much of your food was actually coming out of the garden? Roughly.
Roughly, I'll say enough to make a meal for maybe like 2 or 3 days, depending on how much you put in the ground and how much produce. Because sometimes you may get, like I call, what people call when you, what do you call it? I'm trying to think of a word, but anyway, if it doesn't come to full growth, then you just take the seed and then you plant it back and it grows more. So I'm like, oh, that is neat. Because if you open up green bell pepper, it contains seeds. So you can use that, put it back in the dirt, and you have more green bell peppers. Yeah. Instead of going to the store and buying seeds. And it seems like it's better because, it's fresh. And the other ones are like dried out or sun-dried. And I guess you get a better start out because it's a fresh seed. So yeah.
Seed saving is a whole other ball of wax. Yeah.
But the maintenance, it's a lot of work just to get something to eat. I mean, the tilling, the weeding, and making sure that your aisles are neat and straight. Making sure that the plant has enough water. Yeah. Which mainly wasn't always in summertime. It's like you get more sun than water. So we have to come in the evening, do a lot of water, not just like 5 minutes and then you're done, leave out. Yeah. It's like a baby. You need to have more than just a gulp or sip. You need at least like a couple of gallons in order for your vegetable to grow correctly. If not, you're just going to get some sunburnt, dried bell peppers and never smell. So I guess you were planning on eating fruits and vegetables as a whole. But that's one thing I learned. You want to tend to your fruits and vegetables like you tend to your child. Yeah. So that's that part.
So when did you stop gardening at Fort Dupont?
I stopped gardening when it came to be a high demand and working in the hotels and going back to school and then teaching classes. I'm not physically there at Fort Dupont Park, but my name is still in the system. Miss Pearl, she's a season-long gardener, so she comes and takes care of my plot. And then I come over and, of course, in return, I share half of my produce with her because she also gave me some of her spearmint, her basil, or her spinach plants, star plants. So she always keeps me up to date. I come on the weekends because throughout my busy schedule, it's very hectic. But I always applaud the ones that have been there and doesn't have nothing to do, and they can just live out there and just enjoy the glory of being out there in the nature.
So you're still pretty connected to Fort Dupont.
Most definitely. For me, it's like as a jewel find treasure in the woods. I would never let that go. And it was a wonderful learning tool in my earlier life. Yeah. So,
do you grow stuff on your porch right now?
Yes, I do. I have tomatoes, bell peppers, hollow peppers, and onions. Not onion scallions, I should say. Like the things to make a salad in a sense. But out in the garden, that's where you do the corn, the cucumbers, your eggplant, So things in those big type of, and there's squash, because those are runner plants.
Right. What kind of squash?
Yellow squash and zucchini.
Okay. So summer squashes.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you do winter squashes at all, like butternuts? Or?
It seems like it's very hard to find this type of seeds just to try, but when I do get one some,
I'll get you some.
Oh my God! Thank you. Awesome. Well, I love that. And things in that sort, I would love, because I always love making butternut squash soup or making like a sauce or spaghetti.
Yeah.
Or just roasting it with basil and tomatoes. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. Do you, would you like to go be a more active gardener there again, or
I sure do.
back to the way you were doing it?
I definitely love to balance my work life with my garden life, because it was great to learn at an early age and before I went so busy. And I was like, I miss staying out with my people in the garden and hearing stories, and they just have, and some bring their grill and start cooking their own fruits and vegetables right there. I mean, one guy, he was roasting corn. I was like, that is cool. He said, oh yeah, girl, I'm getting one to eat. I work so hard, I'm hungry. And then the gardeners take the church made like eat like grapes.
It's like candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. Even the earlier the farms have been there for decades. When they talk about living in the country, they have like an apple tree or a lemon bush, or just, I'm like, you had a lemon tree or a peach tree? I'm like, she said, girl, I made peach cobbler, peach preserve, everything you can think of peach. I said, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
And one time, I think I overheard someone had like a bush of lemons, and they didn't know how to use it, so they just cut off I'm like, you cut lemons off your porch? She said, yeah, I didn't know what I'm doing. It was just up in I'm like, you could have made lemonade.
Do all kinds of stuff.
Yes, and clean. You can use like a hint of lemon and some water and a little vinegar. You clean windows and everything. So it was amazing. And then also reconnecting parts of my gardening experience with the hive, where
which is the work sharing space where we're doing this interview.
Right. I met a wonderful lady. I think her name was she was in the program at Illuminate Anacostia. And she brought me memories of the garden where she made, I think, 5 types of lemonade. She made like basil lemonade, lavender lemonade, ginger lemonade, which is my favorite. I always make it every day. Strawberry lemonade, and I think she did like a spearmint. And it was so good. I think now I remember it was peppermint. So yeah, it was delicious. So I'm like, wow. I always got used to, my norm was ginger, lemon, and a little lime to make it a little zesty and different. Yeah. And it's really good for the system and everything. So when I learned those other 4 options, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do lemonade. And it's just wonderful. And when you have a wonderful, bountiful, I think one time we did have a fest of fruits and vegetables, everyone from different plots bring like a dish made from their garden. I did like a stir fry with my spring squash, onions, bell peppers, tomatoes, and it was gone. Everyone enjoyed it. Like, where's that stir fry? So one guy, he roasted some corn off his grill. Another lady, she cut up her watermelon in different cubes. And then the other lady from Luna Anacostia, she made her herbal lemonade, I call it. It was just so wonderful. It felt
so that was here at the Hive or at the garden?
That was at the garden.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, so that was about my big celebration. Not knowing that I'm gonna be busy throughout my busy life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. So now you do work around, I mean, what's the name of the organization that you work at?
Because We Care Health Training Center.
What is their mission?
Their mission is basically to educate individuals and also their families and communities in the workforce, as well as their personal life setting, to save someone's life, or at least to do their best and be knowledgeable to perform CPR.
Okay. So emergency health interventions.
So it's emergency health industry, as well as in a holistic park, and learning people about signs of a heart attack, signs of stroke. So basically in the education field as well as in the medical field.
Okay. And so what are your responsibilities in that organization?
My responsibilities is teaching CPR, first aid, AED, and also educating about holistic health and eating right. Okay. And how to cook food.
So what are your, around the food, what's your message? What are you out there sharing?
My message is that don't be afraid of trying new things. Don't be afraid of think you want to mess up something, because how can you learn if you don't mess up?
Mm-hmm.
I know I messed up a few things, and I use it as my learning tool to perfect it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to don't feel scared. I mean, some people have a beautiful house, and the beautiful clean part is the kitchen. I'm like, well, what do you do in the kitchen? Oh, I just probably use the microwave and refrigerator, and that's it. I'm like, you bought this beautiful home and don't use the kitchen? They're like, girl, I just go out on microwave. So one little girl said, all I can do is use the microwave. I can cook everything with the microwave. I'm like, okay, what about when you get older, the stove, the countertop, and all the other appliances? So
the expensive appliances.
Exactly. So then that's when I came to like preparing foods for like some families, and they're like, this is good. So my aunt, she encouraged me to do like a meet and greet, where I prepare like sauteed squash, baked tomato with stuffing, and it was a very good experience. Everyone was really amazed that all the food I prepared came from the garden. And then we gave a little gift, a little basil, so they can plant their balcony or their lawn and just grow wild basil. So, yeah.
Do you think people are afraid of food in a way that they didn't used to be, or?
Let's see, that's a good question.
Why are people, I mean, you're not even talking about people not growing food. You're talking about people just not even like wanting to cook it or like work with whole ingredients.
True.
I mean, why is that? What do you think that's about?
I would say but didn't have the opportunity like myself to explore those options, to try something new. Even though the economy is very tight on funds and so taking care of your family, you don't want to buy something you don't like and then throw it away. So I think people should get the opportunity to at least get the exposure, the knowledge, and the means of preparing food. Like they always tell me like, what do you eat? You eat rabbit food or something? I'm like, not really. I want to call it that. I mean, yes, I do eat carrots and celery, but it's a whole different name. It's having a vegetarian or vegan diet. And I don't call it diet, even though I use the word, but it's a lifestyle. You don't want to do one extreme and then go back to the normal routine. You don't want to put yourself in a big complication bubble. So you want to do it in different steps. So I like to educate people in their comfort zone and not throw them out there from eating almost everything they like and then eating from a vegetarian-based food. So I would say, well, just try the sauteed squash or the kale or the salad. Some people don't even know what a tomato is or what it looked like. I'm like, so what did you eat as a salad? Iceberg, which number one, iceberg is not nutritionist lettuce. So mainly I had like the raw kale, the romaine and spinach. And they're like, girl, that is good. So I feel that they need to have the opportunity to do so. And I know a lot of holistic and organic food is very pricey. If you're able to get it due to the season, and if you're able to get it, just buy one and just try it. I know some people are like, well, I'm not sure how to use it. Do you bake it? Do you saute it? Do you do what with it? And all I can say through my lifestyle and being raised, my parents always raised me to research it, learn how to use it, and then try it out. And then if you mess up, you learn from your mistakes and do it again and perfect it. And that's how I feel people can learn and get the opportunity to try new things.
How do you connect with the people that you do this educating? Do they hire you or?
First it was a voluntary base, and then after, I guess, expressing my talent and my passion and working in the medical, holistic, and education industry, then they hired me, and it was a whole new beginning of life, and also loving what I do at the garden. So
Nice. Do you grow kale? Did you grow kale at the garden?
Surprisingly, I didn't for some reason. I'm not sure why my aunt didn't get kale. Because at that time, she was doing the funding with the seeds and the tools and other things in between. I'm like, wow. And it's like a workout. You lose weight, you burn some calories, and you get a good long day of just working the garden. You definitely get tired, you get fully rested, and you know you did something good.
Well, kale's not hard to grow though. You should
grow it. I know. As a gardener, I should know that. And since I love kale,
because a lot of people are afraid of kale. You know, they think it's that weird until they start eating it. And you're like, oh, this is great. It's really healthy. And, kale plants and chard plants. They just keep coming and coming and
Correct.
coming. Cool.
Wow.
Well, we're at about an hour. What else? Is there anything we missed? What pieces of your story have we not talked about?
That's cool. Let's see. Being the younger adult life in my stages, learning and being aware that there are vegetarians and vegan restaurants out there, which I didn't knew it probably existed, beyond cooking my own food, which it is good in your daily life to prepare foods at home so you know what you are serving your body and your family. Because a lot of times you're going to be concerned about too much sodium, too much cholesterol, too much fat, and you're unable to manage how much intake you're eating. So one of my best places, which I still go, is called Everlasting Life. A friend, she's also a vegan, and she told me about it. There's two places, one in Sea Pleasant and one on Georgia Avenue. So since I live in Pepper Ferry, I know the Georgia Avenue part. So I found out that they had like certain things that they will name, like for example, macaroni and cheese, which is made from a soy-based product with the cheesy part into it, and then of course whole wheat pasta. So that turns to a standard macaroni to a vegetarian macaroni. And of course, the main cuisine favorite is the kale salad, which is mainly raw and diced up with bell peppers, garlic, and tomatoes. It's like a salad in a sense, and you serve it up. And of course, you have your beans and other things inside. Like I like the steamed broccoli. The wonderful thing about it that I was glad that I was in my younger age, didn't hate or lack in eating vegetables. I know my main vegetable, which I always brag about my mother, is like, where's that steamed broccoli? I want some more steamed broccoli. I know a lot of people in certain age in their life were not craving for vegetables. That's the last thing on their plate. So then after that, that's when my father came in the picture and prepared his own meals. Like every Sunday, the kitchen's all his. And so he comes out making like roasted basil potatoes and sauteed vegetables and a big salad. And I think that's when I got to my little big block that I didn't like squash, and I guess I used the raw part. So yeah, I do have a little fact like, well, did you ever like eating raw vegetables? Not certain ones I didn't until I learned about it. Like I know squash was one. Eating the raw broccoli was kind of odd, but when you later on understand and eat it, it's a whole different taste. Kiwi, at first, not looking from the inside, the pretty green, I was like, what's this fur around this fruit? I don't eat no fur and then eat the juicy part in it. I like it cut so I can see what I'm eating. So later on, I learned the benefits of kiwi, and then throughout that point, I like making smoothies, which my aunt really raved about, and making her meals. Her main meal is always making a big holistic salad with kale, spinach, and romaine, and a smoothie. So whatever your protein may be and your preference, is always going to be a salad and a smoothie. And then for dessert, it would be like an Asian pear or a standard pear or a fresh fruit. And it is awesome. It's good. It doesn't make you feel heavy, sluggish, or tiresome. It just makes you feel light, rejuvenated, and you had a wonderful meal.
Nice.
And then we have our herbal tea.
What kind?
Oh, well, we go to Eastern Market, and it was not my first time, and finding this new vendor. We got citrus tea. And the other one was called, not sure you want to say, Better Than Sex for some reason.
That was the name of the
tea? Yeah, that was the name of the tea.
Better Than Sex.
Yeah. And I was like.
But it was herbal tea.
It was herbal tea. So it had like some type of chocolate scent, like a herb chamomile. When you drink it, you feel like you had a whole body massage and you went to sleep. So my aunt, we were in the living room having our meal, and we were just getting like very tired from it. I'm like, is it you or are you sleeping? I know. She said, no, I think you sleep. I said, what did we do? I'm like, it was that tea. I'm like, that tea make you feel so comfortable, relaxed. If you have a stress day, which I experienced, it just changed your whole entire body chemistry and just make you feel totally relaxed, like you came up from a spa or something. Yeah.
That sounds good. Are there other, so your family being primarily vegetarian when you were growing up, or only vegetarian, it sounded like. Were there other places that you remember going to eat? Interesting vegetarian restaurants? In
my early stages, I know definitely every now and then, but mainly it was all cooked meals at home. We go to what's this place called Secrets of Nature. And Secrets of Nature is located on South Capitol Street. He has the the salmon, what you call it, was a tofu base. Everything that you probably will hear like sound like a regular standard meal, it'd be soy based.
Yeah.
So if you hear macaroni, of course that'll be a soy based macaroni meal, and salmon, which is made from tofu and wrapped into seaweed to look like the skin of the salmon. So we do that maybe like once a week, but mainly all our food was all home cooked.
Mm-hmm. Did you go to Soul Veg back in the day?
Yes, I did. It was so awesome, and that was amazing. It felt like Christmas in a sense. And then people, we come in the aisle, they give you like an apple, a vegetable, a tomato, and then you come in a bag full of vegetables. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to prepare this, prepare that. And it's cool. Even on my off time, I like to try something new. If I taste it, I want to buy that particular item and then prepare it different or do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
Let's see. I'm not sure. You got anything else?
Anything else about your aunt? About her?
I want to thank my aunt, Miss Andra Matthews, for introducing me to the natural field of planting fruits and vegetables, because if it wasn't for that, I probably would be in the same category like, what's this? What's that? Or I'm not going to try that. Mm-hmm. I would have been reluctant to try something new, but that just gave me a big open field of opportunities to learn of where food and fruits and vegetables come from and how can you produce it. Mm-hmm. Then just going to the store, going to the Eastern market or farmer's market and buy it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. Well, Yael, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and it was just a great enjoyment.
Oh, good. All right.